Catholics cannot and should not support immoral things such as abortion, redefining marriage, transgenderism, or the LGBT movement. So, what if a company such as Apple supports those things? Can Catholics buy Apple products? Should Catholics buy Apple products? Very important, are we committing a sin or are we supporting those morally evil positions by buying the products that Apple sells? Let's talk about it. Let's just see what Apple says about these positions. In a newsroom update from Apple, which is on their website from May 6th of this year, they have an article called Apple's 2024 Pride Collection Shines Light on LGBTQ plus communities. As we all know, Apple has a number of, quote, pride collections, such as the watch bands, the watch face, wallpapers, etc. So this is what they say in that article. Through this Pride collection, Apple is proud to continue its support of LGBTQ plus advocacy organizations whose efforts are bringing about positive change, including ILGA World, a global federation committed to advancing the rights of LGBTQ plus people worldwide. So it is clear by the statements on their website as well as the actual products that Apple sells that they unfortunately celebrate and they do advance this cause. Then, following the overturning of Roe v. Wade in 2022, an Apple spokesperson announced that, quote, "We support our employees' rights to make their own decisions regarding their reproductive health. For more than a decade, Apple's comprehensive benefits have allowed our employees to travel out of state for medical care if it is unavailable in their home state." Further, NBC New York reported that the maker of the iPhone said its health insurance provider will cover travel and medical costs of employees who want to get an abortion. Apple Incorporated CEO Tim Cook announced the benefit in September of 21 after the Texas anti-abortion law went into effect. Unfortunately, it is clear that Apple at the very least materially and financially supports its employees if they seek an abortion, particularly if they live in a pro-life state such as Texas, in the case of that statement. Suffice it to say, it is clear that Apple, as a company, officially and unofficially supports movements and acts that are gravely immoral and cannot be supported by Catholics. It would seem, with that in mind, that Catholics should not support Apple and should not use their products because doing so would support those evil actions. So, should we sell our products? Should we smash them? Should we throw them in the trash? After all, we most certainly do not support evil organizations like Planned Parenthood. Should we treat Apple or other companies the same way? Well, I don't think it's quite that simple, and I'm going to tell you why. So let's take a brief pause and talk about Catholic moral ethics, which will help us understand this issue a little bit better. First, every moral act has three elements. Number one is the objective act, which is the thing that's actually done. Number two is the subjective goal, or the intention of the act done. Third and lastly is the circumstance or the situation that it takes place in. Think where, when, how, etc. So when we are looking at any act, we have those three things to take into consideration. Most importantly, and this is critically important, the act can never be intrinsically evil, no matter the circumstances or the intention, period. The act cannot be intrinsically evil or it's always wrong. Obviously, for example, one can never kill an innocent person. Doesn't matter the circumstance, doesn't matter your intention, it's always wrong to kill an innocent person. That's an example of this. Okay, so now that we have these basic principles, that leads us to our next point regarding Apple, which is the formal versus material cooperation with evil. Formal versus material. And this is critically important for our Apple dilemma as well as any other organization. Formal cooperation with evil is the direct cooperation and support, such as donating money to Planned Parenthood, for instance, or another organization or company that directly participates in intrinsically evil acts, and, this is important, we share in their intent. Material cooperation involves helping in some way, be it monetarily or other means, the company or the organization, but you don't share the evil intent. For example, purchasing products from a company that supports or promotes something evil is material cooperation. So, for example, I pay taxes to the federal government, sadly, like we all do. Unfortunately, our federal government, as most do, support a wide variety of organizations and policies that are intrinsically evil. For instance, the government gives to Planned Parenthood, and our state governments particularly execute capital punishment. So when I pay taxes, I am in a very real sense materially cooperating with evil, but I most certainly do not share the same intent as that act. So I am not morally at fault for those actions. So let's take it back to our question of Apple. So I have many Apple products. If you see, I have my watch, I have my phone, I have my computer, I have my headphones, I have my iPad, I have cords and chargers, and I have lots of Apple products. So when I purchase an Apple product, which as you can tell is quite often, I am cooperating with the evil that Apple supports, unfortunately. However, it's a material cooperation with evil, not a formal. So I am not morally responsible for the evil that Apple might or might not do. Therefore, buying Apple products does unfortunately support the furthering of evil, such as their employees possibly getting abortions, the LGBT agenda, etc. So what do? Do we just stop buying their products? By the way, it's not just Apple, unfortunately. Google, Coca-Cola, Microsoft, pretty much any major company in the US share these same agendas. So should we just boycott all of them, as some people have? Well, you certainly can. And I would say, in fact, it's probably actually a very noble thing to do. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. If you've decided that for yourself, let me know in the comments which companies you have stopped supporting and how that's really affected you. But it's absolutely true that we as Catholics should aim for the curbing of evil in our world. And it might be good that we stop supporting companies. Ultimately, you can and certainly buy and even love Apple products as a Catholic. Trust me, I certainly do. Unfortunately, we do live in a world of difficult moral choices. Many of the companies and our government support evil actions. However, this is important. That does not mean that we, by buying them, working for, or even loving the products or the companies, are formally advocating or supporting the evil. We live in a fallen world, and we unfortunately materially cooperate with evil all the time, but we are not morally responsible for those evils that those companies commit. I would say that we should be bold in our opposition, and we should be outspoken, but does that mean you can keep using your Apple products? Certainly. Keep loving your awesome Apple Watch Ultras. Just don't be morally ambiguous. And if you want to learn more about the Catholic faith and how to grow in your spiritual life, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out this video where we discuss the phenomenon of megachurches. God bless.